historically, the transportation field, I mean, it's been a terrible place to have money. And whether it's been in airlines or in the rails, we've mentioned value line from here from time to time. If you go to the rail transportation section and just run your eye across on the revenues and look at the capital investment, the amount of capital required to produce incremental revenues is horrible. And on the other hand, there's not much alternative here in the game to doing that. So many railroads will spend hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars, and it will not move the top line hardly at all. The ones where the top line has changed is where there's been acquisitions or mergers. Airlines, you see just the opposite. You see this great movement in the top line, but again, a disastrous amount of capital investment and very little in the way of returns. So it hasn't been a great field. Most fields that require heavy capital investment, most of the time they don't turn out very well over time. There are plenty of exceptions to that. But if you find a business that has to keep adding up huge sums of money every year, there always will be a reason why they're doing it. But the net result after 5 or 10 or 20 years usually isn't very good.
You said, well, if I know a person's role model, I can pretty well tell what kind of a person he is and what kind of a future he has. Mr. Buffett, my role model is Warren Buffett. Do you think I'll have a chance?
Well, I hope you're choosing me on the basis that you hope to expect to live to an advanced age. I'd like to think that that's what I bring to the party. Well, it does pay to have the right models. I mean, I was very lucky very early in life that I had certain heroes, and I've continued to develop a few more as I've gone along. And they've been terrific, and they've never let me down. And it takes you through a lot. And I think that, it just stands to reason that you copy very much the people that you do look up to, and particularly if you do it at an early enough age. So I think if you can influence the role models of a 5-year-old or an 8-year-old or a 10-year-old, it's going to have a huge impact. And of course, everybody virtually starts out with their initial models being their parents. So they are the ones that are going to have that huge effect on them. And if that parent turns out to be a great model, I think it's going to be a huge plus for the child. I think that it beats a whole lot of other things in life to have the right models around. And I have, like I say, even as I gotten older, I picked up a few more, and it influences your behavior. I'm convinced of that. And if you will want to be a little more or a lot more, depending on your personality, like the person that you admire. And I tell the students in classes, I tell them, just pick out the person you admire the most in the class and sit down and write the reasons out why you admire them, and then try and figure out why you can't have those same qualities. Because they're not the ability to throw a football 60 yards or run the 110 flat or something like that. They're qualities of personality, character, temperament that can be emulated. But you got to start early. It's very tough to change behavior later on. And you can apply the reverse of it, following Charlie's theory. You can find the people that you don't like and say, what don't I like about these people? And then you can, if it takes a little strength of character, but you can look inward and say, have I got some of that in me? And it's not complicated. Ben Graham did it. Ben Franklin did it. And it's not complicated. Nothing could be more simple than to try and figure out what you find admirable, and then decide, that the person you really would like to admire is yourself. And the only way you're going to do it is take on the qualities of other people you admire. Anyway, that's a 2-minute answer on something Bill and I did talk a little bit about. Charlie?
Yeah. There is no reason also to look only for living models. The eminent dead are in the nature of things some of the best models around. And if it's a model is all you want, you're really better off not limiting yourself to the living. Some of the very best models have been dead for a long time.
Charlie has probably read more biography than any 3 people in this room put together. So he has put this into practice. And as somebody mentioned earlier, Janet Lowe has a biography of Charlie coming out here in later this year. So you can read all the secrets of Charlie's life. That
In terms of these tech stocks, you say that you don't understand them. Can you say if you think, I can't imagine you not understanding something.
Oh, we understand the product. We
Yeah.
understand what it does for people. We just don't know the economics of it 10 years from now. I mean, you can understand all kinds. You can understand steel. I mean, you can understand home building. But if you look at a home builder and try and think where it's going to be in 5 or 10 years, the economics of it, that's another question. I mean, it's not a question of understanding the product they turn out, means they use to distribute it, all of those sort of things. It's the predictability of the economics of the situation 10 years out, and that's our problem.
Right, and I'm not trying to provoke you into doing it. I'm glad you haven't, because I probably would have gone into cardiac arrest this last couple of months.
Yeah, well, so would we.
Yeah. So your projection is that you are not going to try to make an attempt to understand that. You think is it not comprehensible? Is that it? It's not
Yeah,
comprehensible?
every business I look at, I think about its economics. It's built into me. It's built into Charlie. So it isn't like when if I'm with Andy Grove, or actually I knew Bob Noyce back at Grinnell in 1968 and 69 when they were starting Intel. When he talked to me about starting Intel, or anybody talks to me about a business, I think about its economics. I'll think about the economics of UNO, if we talk for 3 or 4 minutes. So it isn't that we shut off the valve. It's just that we don't get any place. We don't know what it'll look like. And it's, there are a lot of things in life that they're just beyond comprehension for many of us. And
so you'd say that nobody really probably can understand this where it'll be in 10 years. Nobody could understand.
We would be very skeptical about it. Yeah, I would say that, and incidentally, my friend Bill Gates would say the same thing. And actually, Bob Noyce Bob died some years ago, or Andy Grove, they would say the same thing. I've taken long walks with Andy, and they would not want to put down on paper their predictions about where 10 companies you would choose in the tech field would be in 10 years in terms of their economics. They would say that's too hard.
Cool. A second question, again, not related, but I've heard this question several times today, and it comes up every year. I'd like to couch it in sort of a different phrase. Let's say that you stepped outside of this building and were hit by a bus.
Yeah, we've got one fellow who objects to that here as a shareholder. It's normally a truck.
Okay.
And he happens to be in the trucking business, so he...
Or give it...
Just so it isn't a Geico driver, but...
given Omaha, it could be a road grader.
Yeah, right.
What kind, that would be a sudden, maybe you'd come out of it with a great fastball. Maybe that's it, but you wouldn't have your facility as such. What kind of advice would you give people that hold Berkshire Hathaway at a moment such as that?
Well, I've got the ultimate test on that, because my estate at that point would be 99 3/4% invested in Berkshire, and I feel totally comfortable considering the arrangements that have been made and the businesses we own and the managers we have in place in terms of that. But no one will be more affected financially, let alone in other manners, by that truck than me. And so it's a thought that's crossed my mind. And, it's a more important question to me than to anybody else, and I've answered it to my satisfaction. The directors have some of my thoughts on the subject, but the world will go on, the businesses will go on, and I think you'll have terrific management in place.
I appreciate that. Fine. And thank you for taking all three of these. They're so disconnected.
Okay, thank you.
Given your comments about newspapers, may we assume that you're probably not going to buy the Omaha World Herald?
I think that's a fair assumption, but that would probably be true regardless of my thoughts about newspapers, because they're not going to sell.